Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is book. And I want to give credit for this video to one of my students, Rosario, who noticed recently that this word can be both a noun and a verb. And she is today's inspiration. So thanks, Rosario. Let's begin to talk about how to use this word as a verb. One way you'll hear it used is to mean to reserve something or to buy a ticket in advance. You'll hear people discuss booking hotel rooms, booking flights in advance of a trip. A second way you'll hear book used is to mean to engage a performer or guest for a special occasion or event. You can think about this like hiring someone to perform or hiring someone to speak at a particular event. A third way the verb book gets used is to mean to have all appointments or places reserved. So, with this definition, you might think of sort of becoming full. So if we connect this back to that idea of reserving hotel rooms, reserving flights, once all the seats on an airplane are sold, right, we would say that flight is booked. All the places are reserved. A fourth way you'll hear book used is to mean to make an official record of a criminal suspect. So sometimes you'll hear this verb book used in sort of crime dramas, their TV shows, movies. Sometimes you'll also hear it in news reports that a particular person was booked at this police station or that police station. A fifth way the verb book gets used is to mean to leave somewhere very suddenly. So this is without warning. No one was anticipating that this person would go so quickly. You should know that book is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, all I need to do is add ing to form booking. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by adding ed. Our base verb, book, ends in an unvoiced K sound. This means that our past tense ending is going to make a T sound, and we're not adding an extra syllable as we say it. The past tense and participle forms should sound like this: booked, booked. Okay? Now there are a couple phrasal verbs you might encounter. They're very much connected to definitions we've looked at earlier, but we'll talk about them now. The first one you might encounter is to book on. This is specifically used to talk about reserving a place as part of transportation. So this could be on planes, trains, ships, etc. An example: yesterday's flight was canceled, but I'm booked on the first flight this morning. So what I would be saying here is I have reserved a seat on a particular plane or a particular flight. Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to book up. People use this to really stress that something has sold out in advance. Okay? An example of this: all the hotels in town are booked up for this weekend. So it means I'm not going to be able to reserve a room. Maybe that's because there are many big events happening in this particular city, but you're not going to be able to find a place to stay. Now, before we begin making some sentences with our verb of the day, I want to do a quick review of how we form WH questions. Sometimes with my students, I call these more information questions because I want my students to say more than yes or no. Yes or no just doesn't make sense in response to these types of questions. So you might encounter uh, questions that begin with some of the words that are on our screen here. Okay. And what you're going to notice here is a general pattern that's going to work for most of our more information questions. So you can start with a question word, then you'll use did. This is the past tense form of do. After did, use a subject, and then use a base verb. So notice, even though we're talking about past tense questions, our verbs are not in the past tense. Okay, and that's because did is. That's indicating to our listeners that we're talking about a completed action. If you want to pause the video here for a second, you can practice making some sample questions. I'll do one quick one here. So I would start over here and say, when did you eat? Right? So perhaps I'm trying to figure out when lunch was finished, and that will help me plan when to make dinner. Now, let's make some more questions using our Verb of the Day book. Okay? The first type of question we're going to do is about location. So this is a question about place. Use the question word where, W-H-E-R-E. Here's an example. Where did you book the graduation party? So here I'm asking about the place, the location where this party will be held. Maybe it's at a restaurant, maybe it's in a park, who knows? But I want to know the place. We can also ask questions about time. This can be time as on a clock or time as in a date. An example of this. When did the hotel book up? Okay, so here we want to know, when did it become full of reservations? We can ask a question about the manner in which an action was done. Okay, we use the question word how with that, H-O-W. An example here. How did you book the trip with points? I have some friends that do this a lot with different credit cards. I tried it once a really long time ago. It did not work for me in finding dates that would work. So that is a question I've had for friends and probably will ask again. Another type of question many people will ask is to understand the reason a particular action, in this case, was done in the past. We use the question word why, W-H-Y. Why did they book it out of the party? Right? So this would be referring to leaving suddenly, that fifth definition we talked about earlier. Another type of question you might encounter is asking about a thing, an object of some kind. An example here. What did the police book him for? So common to use that question word what when we're talking about things. Okay. Now I want you to notice all 5 of these simple past tense questions have followed our structure of question word, did, subject, base verb. Okay. Now I have 2 more types of questions I want us to look at. Their patterns are slightly different. So another way we can ask about a thing or an object would be to use the question word which, W-H-I-C-H. With this word, with this question word or type of question, what's going to come immediately after is a noun. And that noun are sort of the options or choices that I'm asking about. Then our structure will go back to kind of the same pattern. So what's different here is which and then a noun. You'll see that in my example. Which musician did you book for the party? Right? So maybe I knew you were talking to someone who plays the piano and plays the guitar, and now I'm asking, tell me which one you chose. Another type of question we ask is about who. Who, in this case, has done a particular action. And here, the question word, who, W-H-O, is our question word, and it is our subject at the same time. So here, we'll start with who, then we do use the past tense form of our verb. So that's the one exception to our pattern. Who booked this room? A hotel clerk might do that as a couple goes to check in and trying to figure out which name the reservation is under. Now, let's spend a moment looking at a word and some phrases related to our verb book. The first word is a noun, and it's just the noun form of this word. So same spelling, same pronunciation. The noun book most commonly is used to talk about some type of printed work where we have many pages that have been glued together or sewn together and sort of bound, kind of connected. So, an example of this, they borrowed the book from the library. A second way you hear this noun used is to refer to a set of things. This could be like a set of tickets, a set of stamps, a set of matches, a set of checks, etc. And again, the idea is usually they're joined together. So sometimes as I mail a package at a post office, the clerk will ask me, would you like to buy a book of stamps? Right? So not a single one, but I'm going to get a set together. The next phrase we're going to look at is by the book. This is used to describe someone who does something following all the rules, or you might hear strictly according to the rules. An example of this in a sentence. This manager always does things by the book. She isn't going to take any shortcuts. So, not going to skip through a process. If the rules are we have to do A, B, and C, this person is always going to do A, then B, then C. Another phrase you might encounter is to take a page out of someone's book. This phrase means that someone is mimicking or behaving like someone else, maybe in one way or in multiple ways. I recently read an article that used this phrase, and I'm going to borrow a sentence from that article. The article was comparing popular singers in the present day to people in the past, and the article noted it's easy to see which artists have taken a page out of Amy Winehouse's book. So here, the writer or the author of this piece was noting which people perform in a manner similar to Amy Winehouse. The last phrase we'll look at is in my book. This is just another way to say, in my opinion. An example of this. I like soft-baked chocolate chip cookies best, but in my book, there are no bad chocolate chip cookies. So, my opinion. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.